I think that every kid growing up has their own favorite toys that they like to play with. I was no different. My favorite toy when I was, well, just a toddler was a rocking horse. It was the kind of rocking horse that's on a metal stand and it hooks onto the metal stand with these springs. I wish that I knew how many miles that I rode that thing when I was a little girl. That was my safe place. That was my go-to place. Whenever I got in trouble or whenever I was unhappy, I always went to my rocking horse. And as I got a little bit bigger and was outgrowing it, I threw a fit wanting a pony. Well, they wasn't going to get me no pony with me that little. I was afraid that I'd get hurt. So they graduated me up onto a bicycle. And I wasn't real hot about the bicycle until I finally got big enough that they'd let me ride my bike down to my granny's house, which was about a mile down the road. Then I decided that, yeah, that bicycle was pretty handy. Sure bet beat hoofing it, I'll tell you. So I rode that bicycle probably as many miles as I rode that little hobby horse as I was a little girl. And then I had other toys that I enjoyed too. I had an easy bake oven that I got a big charge out of, and I remember a thing they had out called creepy crawlers, and you had this goopy stuff that you poured into a mold, and then you put it in this. Well, it's sort of like the easy bake oven. It was a little oven thing that heated that stuff up, cooked it, and set it up in those molds, and the molds was all different kinds of bugs and stuff. And I enjoyed my creepy crawlers. And other than that, yeah, I had Barbie dolls. I had that kind of stuff like any other kid had, but I was not a big collector in it and didn't get a big charge out of it. I liked simple things like what they called paper dolls and cutout dolls, where you'd cut out the dolls and then you cut out the little clothes that they wore and stuff. And I remember when I got real sick. I was 4 years old. I got chicken pox really bad, run a real high fever and went into convulsions and all kinds of things. And my daddy felt so sorry for me. Every time he'd go into town, he'd bring me back a doll baby. And they was the kind of dolls that was in these plastic bell type containers, clear see-through containers. And the dolls had fancy dresses on them and stuff. And every time he'd go to town, he'd get me one. And I don't know, I must have had about 8 of them dolls. I don't know whatever become of them. But he got me spoiled, got so then every time he went to town, I expected him to bring me something back. And he had to wean me off that as I got well from the chicken pox. But then after I got a little bit older and, I was getting a little, well, I'm going to say a little bit too old for the bicycle. Not that you ever outgrow a bicycle. You can always deal with a bicycle, but I got big enough that they thought they could trust me with ponies. So Daddy went and got me some ponies, and they weren't broke to ride. I had to, I had to break them ponies to ride. I remember that growing up, and then I outgrew the ponies. I got so tall that my legs would drag the ground when I was riding them ponies. Dad says, "Nope, it's time for her to get a horse." So they got me a horse, and I loved that horse. Man, oh man, she was my best pal. Her name was Candy, and I loved to ride her. My mother hated for me to ride her. She was afraid I was going to get hurt on that horse. But I'd get on that horse, and me and her take off. Oh, just hell bent for leather, buddy. We'd fly, and that horse enjoyed me. A few tricks and stuff, and much to my mother's chagrin, because I'd approach the fence, and Candy'd see me coming. She'd know when I was a coming, and One day I had Mom standing inside the lot where Candy was at, and Candy was out behind the barn, and I hollered for her. And Candy came running, buddy. She came full speed gallop, and Mom thought she was going to get just run over by that horse. I never seen my mother move so fast in my life. That horse scared the hell out of her. But Candy came running for me. She knew I always had something for her, whether it was some sugar or an apple or a carrot or something. I always had some kind of a treat for her. So Candy would come flying to meet me. But those were my favorite toys as I grew up. Some of them was breathing toys and some of them wasn't breathing toys, but those are fond memories that you never get over. I hope everybody has some kind of a fond memory of the toys that they had growing up.